The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18 plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
There is a lot of big breaking news. Let's go to the founder of Just the News, the great John Solomon. John, what do you got today?
Well, we're keeping on a tragedy down in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge. At least 10 people injured, 2 critical in a mass shooting at the Mall of Louisiana, big shopping mall down in Baton Rouge. Police say that 2 rival groups got into an argument inside the mall near the food court. Guns came out, weapons were fired. Not only were some of the group members injured, but some of the innocent bystanders sprayed with bullets. The mayor there very upset, promising that everyone who fired a gun inside that mall, we're going to get you. We're going to come and get you. But another tragedy we're keeping a close eye on to see as developments break over the next few hours. Meanwhile, Donald Trump and the Homeland Security Secretary, Mark Wayne Mullen, they're putting the heat up on Chuck Schumer from New York, the minority leader of the Senate, demanding that he apologize for comments he's made going after America's immigration officials. They're just following law. ICE and Border Patrol people are. But Chuck Schumer has been doing a lot to demean them in recent weeks, including last night on the Senate floor, but just before the Senate created pathway to finally reopening the Homeland Security Department after weeks of a Democratic shutdown.
By the way, John, I was watching Mark Wayne Mullen earlier, and he really went after Schumer, not just sort of. He said he's a lying scumbag. That's what Mullen said. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Oh, he was hopping mad like an MMA fighter. That's how he looked like. You know,
that's getting nasty.
It is.
It is. And listen, Chuck Schumer went to the floor of the Senate and made this comment. Nobody respects Border Patrol. And I said, simply not true. Millions of Americans respect them. It's just not a true statement. And so I understand why the back and forth.
See, I won't even use that word. You don't, he's still the minority leader of the Senate. You don't use those kind of words.
I agree.
I mean,
You're supposed to be bigger than that.
He's got to be bigger than that. So for him to do that, I think that was wrong. I mean, he could say he was a lying liar, whatever. But
a lying pony horse. What was the line?
I won't even use those words on the radio.
I agree. What was the line that Biden used to say? A lying pony horse. Remember, John? It was like.
Yeah. Well, you know what bothers me is that civility is really gone in this town.
It's gone now.
Years.
Yeah.
And, I spoke to another high-end official a couple of days ago, and I said, somebody has to go to jail. Yeah. If nobody goes to jail and all they're doing is getting their hands, slapped,
yeah.
I mean, there's never going to be civilization.
Yeah, I think some big stuff's coming down the road. I do think yesterday's indictment of the Southern Poverty Law Center, catching them funding the extremist groups so they could call them more extreme, is the beginning of a much larger avalanche of criminal cases coming against those who've abused our political system, abused our intelligence system, our law enforcement system, our FBI. I'm seeing a lot of activity down in that Florida grand jury, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple indictments in the next few weeks. Meanwhile, I want to point to something else. It was in 2023 when Just the News first began reporting on some unusual transactions and behaviors at ActBlue, the largest Democrat online fundraising platform in the world. And that led to congressional and federal investigations. Texas this week sued them for not properly protecting against foreign donations and fraud. Today, the House Administration Committee demanded that the ActBlue CEO testify in the next couple of weeks. If she refuses, I have a funny feeling she's going to get a subpoena and may have to, like some of her lawyers, take the Fifth Amendment. Last week, we revealed that all 5 of the main lawyers that Congress wanted to interview at ActBlue all took the Fifth Amendment, saying we don't want to talk because we might incriminate ourselves. Now they're escalating to the number one executive in ActBlue and Gina Wallace-Jones. So we'll keep a close eye on that. That's some of the biggest news breaking around Washington right now.
John, I got to ask you about Ilhan Omar, because you kind of hinted about there could be some things big coming down the pike. Remember in her financial disclosure form, originally it was like it came up to 6 to 30 million, and now there's a mistake. It's somewhere under 100,000. That's a big mistake.
30 million disappeared.
Yeah, somehow, right? Somehow. So Tom Homan, our buddy Tom Homan, Ed and John was asked about it, just a little bit ago. Like, is there something happening maybe with Ilhan Omar? Maybe with, I don't know if it has to do with her status, or with something, but he had a smile, ear to ear. And Tom said, quote, here's a direct quote from Tom Homan, the borders are, stay tuned.
Yeah.
So how do you read that, John Solomon?
Well, there is a denaturalization push, as we know, at the Justice Department. People that they who may have, in the course of seeking citizenship, may have lied in that process to cover. And we saw that today. They confirmed that they're moving ahead with maybe several dozen denaturalizations for people who got their citizenship under false pretenses. And so I would keep an eye on that development. I don't know if Ilhan Omar's in that, but I have been fighting for about 7-8 months now under the Freedom of Information Act to get the original files to see, we know what Ilhan Omar has said publicly. What did she tell the immigration officials when she was interviewed about whether her husband was in some way related to her? I want to know the answer to that. If she's innocent, she should be exonerated. If she's done something wrong, we should know if she's been lying to us. I'm getting close to squeezing those records out, and that could be a big development in the next few weeks as well.
Wow. And what about John Brennan, too, former CIA director? We talked about that.
Lots of activity down in Florida focused on John Brennan and James Comey right now. There is witnesses going in, documents being subpoenaed. Congress forwarding evidence down there. Those are two folks right now that the grand jury is very closely investigating. And now there's a new sheriff in town with Joe DeGeneva. And, former U.S. attorney, former special counsel, former independent counsel, very distinguished prosecutor. They're going to make decisions a lot quicker now. There's not going to be the slow walk. I know John's been frustrated for all the right reasons. John's sentiments are shared by everybody I talk to. I think soon you're going to see some accountability.
Well, I pray, because we need it, because otherwise we're not going to straighten out our country, John.
You're right, sir. 100% agree with you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and let's talk again real soon. And let's pray for our country. And you work very hard for it, and I want to thank you for that. And we all work very hard. Ed Cox, you work hard. I work hard. Rita, you work hard.
I try to follow you guys, so I work hard.
Okay. All right.
Co-conspirator.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys. Love the show. Bye-bye.
Thank you, John.